Welcome to the WP Builds podcast, bringing you the latest news from the WordPress community. Now, welcome your hosts, David Wormsley and Nathan Wrigley.
Hello there and welcome to the WP Builds podcast once more. Thanks for joining us. This is episode 132, which is entitled Working When There's Other Things to Do. My name's Nathan Wrigley from pictureandword.co.uk, a small web development agency based in the north of England, and I will be joined a little bit later by David Wormsley from davidwormsley.com as we have our discussion today. This episode was published on Thursday the 13th of June, 2019. Just a couple of things before we get to the podcast content itself. If you head over to wpbuilds.com, you'll see a menu at the top of the page. And if I could draw your attention to a few of those menu items. The first one is the subscribe link over at wpbuilds.com/subscribe. And if you click on that, it's basically a whole bunch of ways that you can keep up to date with what we're doing over here. You can subscribe to one of two newsletters, one which tells you all about the podcast and the other which alerts you if I find any product deals going on the internet to do with WP related products. You can also join us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, join our 2,000 plus strong Facebook group where we're joined every day by lots of experienced WordPress people, and we discuss all the problems that we have found and the solutions that we found as well. You can also find our YouTube channel and various other things as well. So that's the first link. The next one is wpbuilds.com/deals. If you're in the market for some plugins or themes, head over to that page because we've got significant amounts off lots and lots of different WordPress products. Another one to mention is wpbuilds.com/win. We've got a competition going on at the moment for a couple of weeks. This is your chance to win one of 4 licenses for the Split Hero split testing plugin. Adam Lacey, who was on the podcast several weeks ago, he's launched a product, Split Hero, and it will enable you to carry out A/B tests and decide which of your different pages is optimizing best. And we've got a chance for you to win 4 licenses. He's giving away 4. The first one, there's 2 annual licenses, and then there's a 6-month license and a 3-month license. Head over to the page and fill in the form, and you might have a chance of winning those. And the last one, I suppose, is wpbuilds.com/advertise. If you'd like to advertise and get your product or service noticed more, we'll put an ad out for you and hopefully you'll get some recognition for it. One person who's done that is David Von Gries from the Page Builder Framework. Do you use a page builder to create your websites? The Page Builder Framework is a mobile responsive and lightning fast WordPress theme that works with Beaver Builder, Elementor, Breezy and other page builders. With its endless customization options in the WordPress customizer, it's the perfect fit for you or your agency. So head over to wp-pagebuilderframework.com today. And we do thank the Page Builder Framework for helping us put on the WP Builds podcast once again. Just a couple of things to say before we actually begin. This discussion that I've got with David today entitled Working When There's Other Things to Do. Normally David and I are pretty on message. We do tend to ramble a little bit, but today we take that to the next level. It is very rambly. There's not a great deal of WordPress content in there, in all honesty, but I listened back to it and I really enjoyed what we'd said having a second listen through. So it's all about what it is that we do, procrastinating, finding other things that are far less important, but somehow we get distracted by them. So like I say, not a lot of WordPress content, but it's fun nevertheless, and it gives you a bit of an insight into what David and I can end up doing when we're not supposed to be doing it. I hope you enjoy it.
Hello, today's discussion we're calling Working When There Are Other Things to Do. Nathan, this was your topic that you brought up. So I've ended up making a few notes really with an entirely different topic of kind of work-life balance stuff. But you were going to talk about the minutiae, the little things in life that distract us.
Well, it was really talking about having a normal life at the same time as having a work life. And I know this topic gets bandied around a bit, but usually it's a private thing between, I don't know, your very close confidants or something. So I thought it might be quite nice to sort of share just the realities of trying to be a busy work person at the same time as having a busy, healthy life. And so
Yeah.
that's where I was going to go. So for me, it's about the difficulty in juggling or managing things that I have to do outside of work. So in my situation, I have a family. I've got kids and a wife, and a social situation where I try to go out when I can. And the family in particular, there's certain things that happen with the family that are kind of unavoidable, unpostponable. Most things in life can be delayed, but because there's so much routine in my week, there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that cannot be delayed. And also, as those people who've got a family, as the children grow up, you'll know that they have more things going on, and they make things up for themselves. So suddenly you realize, oh, I've got to take you there, have I? Nobody told me about that. That kind of thing crops up quite a lot. So I was hoping to kind of like have a chat around that and maybe talk around what I do to avoid going cranky.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my life's so different to yours. I mean, you were telling me earlier about the kind of little jobs that you have to do, which, to be honest, would really defeat what I'm trying to do in any day, because they're little bits of work. And well, I think we both have the same issue. It's hard to focus on this one task you want to do if you know that in maybe an hour's time you've got to go and do this thing where you transport a child to somewhere else.
Yes, I have lots of that. My day is now broken up into multiple small parts. Whereas if I was to go back 10 or 15, well, actually 15 or more years, the day is open to me. The calendar, if you like, can begin at, let's say, 9 o'clock or whenever. And it can be, that calendar is open for business until, let's say, 5 o'clock. And I can do that Monday to Friday. Now there's all sorts of little impediments to that workflow. And if you're anything like me, and I know that you are, David, the flow and the ability to concentrate for long periods of time can be quite important. And the opposite can be quite detrimental. So if I'm concentrating on something and suddenly I have to go off and do something, albeit only for 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever, I find it very hard to get back into the swing of what I'm doing. So a classic example is just things like the school run or clubs that the children attend, those kind of things. Suddenly at 3 o'clock, you have to stop and go and collect your children from school. Now, it may be on a given day, therefore, 3 o'clock for me or 2:30 or whatever it might be. That's kind of the end of my day, because from that moment on, that's me. I'm now on childcare, looking after children or what have you. Some days I can come back because my wife will be here, and that's great. But some days the day ends at 3 o'clock, and that means that I can't do anything past those. Now, I do want to preface the whole of this thing with there's no resentment or that or ill feeling about this. This is just the way it is. I'm just presenting it as this is how my life is, and sometimes that can be hard. I'll have to, pick up the work baton again when everybody's gone to bed, and those kind of things can be difficult.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate a bit. It makes me feel really lucky because I have got my own space, and there's no calls on my time, particularly other than ones I set for myself. So I'm my worst enemy when it comes to these things. But I do know it when I go and stay with my sister-in-law, my official home in London, and that house, it's Indian family, so all the more extended family will just turn up at any point, and it becomes social, and people don't recognize when you're in at home that you're actually doing work.
Okay. Yeah.
So I can those kind of distract. At least you can set your times, though, can't you?
Yeah, I very much can. In fact, the way that our family cope with this is that my wife and I will have a chat, usually on a Sunday evening, and we'll map out what the calendar looks like. We can't really go beyond then. It's proven to be unrealistic. And we're not religious about it. We don't get it right all the time. And very often we'll miss something and there'll be an emergency phone call. Oh, you've got to go and collect or move or reposition or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, my calendar looks like I've actually got a calendar in my calendar just called timeout. And basically anything that's kind of a quick little 5 minute, 10 minute, half an hour job, I just put it into that timeout calendar, and it automatically creates that as a busy event. So, no other calendars can kind of inhibit against that time. And so if I don't know, clients are wanting to book a care plan meeting or something, if they get in before I fill up that timeout event, sadly I have to phone them up and tell them I can't do it. Or if I'm lucky or the stars align, those little timeout events mean that nobody can book through my calendars when I've got important things going on. And often with a family, you can foresee a lot of these things. So, the school, as an example, will send out letters illustrating what's going on for the following term. So that gives me 2 months worth of appointments that I can immediately put into the calendar, and that's great. That blocks those off. But very often it's things that you didn't expect. It's sudden trips to the dentist or what have you that kind of get in the way.
Do you know, I mean, this topic, I guess, because we have got two chats going on, because I was thinking about the other side of things that I do wrong when the things I neglect is what I was thinking about with doing this work. So, which is sometimes my wife, I realize that I leave her very isolated. So, I made some notes anyway on how a shared document I was talking about just this. I get into this trap of thinking that I'm doing some work when I'm not. So that sort of that feeling that you know what it is, when you work for yourself as such, you feel you should be doing something or improving our skills. And you get into this illusion all the time of sort of going to push yourself, and you're online. So there's that whole addictive world where you can appear to be working.
Yes.
Where you're really not. Facebook groups, courses, totally. Deals. Yeah.
Do you sometimes, now you're probably not going to want to admit this on a podcast, but do you sometimes literally say I've got to go and work and then spend a bit of time in a Facebook group? Not any work at all. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I had a job on yesterday, and it's a nice little job to do for a client. And I was that's exactly what I did. I said to my wife, I have to go and work. Shut the door on her, leaving her alone. And then 5 minutes into doing that job, I wandered into Facebook and came out probably about an hour later to finish off the job. Yes. So doing it all the time.
Yeah, so this is an interesting and different part of our conversation. So this is when you've got other things to do which get in the way of work, of which just being lost on the internet is one of them. Yes, we should be getting on with work, but other stuff gets in the way. Yeah, I think every person, if they're being honest, does this to some extent. You can find ways of mitigating it, but I'm sure that we all get a little bit lost and sidetracked. That's part of human nature, though, isn't it? And I think the best way to approach this for me is to embrace those times when I get lost. I think I've spoken about this before. If I'm going to waste time, then I'm going to make sure that I enjoy the time that I'm wasting. So, for example, for me in the summer, that might be that I notice that I'm not really being all that efficient. So why not, rather than pottering about on Facebook, why not go down to the beach for an hour and kind of, like I say, embrace that dead time? Because we all know ourselves, don't we? I know that if I'm in that mood, that restless mood, and the work hasn't somehow taken a grip of me, I know roughly that that's going to take a period of time, let's say an hour, to fix. So I'd be better off doing something enjoyable than just mindlessly scrolling through Facebook. But I am guilty of that as well.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I thought I kind of had things sorted. To some degree, I do, because I packed in my job and I do the web development as a way of just funding my travel. So it's all fun and games, and I'm pleased with what I've done. But I still fall into those traps, and I bet there's more people who do this who are worse at doing this than me, in the sense that you feel you should always be on task, that you always should be focusing on learning more about the business that we do. And I think even I do that, even though I've put aside time. I go to the beach pretty much every day with my wife, but even so, I've noticed something that I do is that I take some conversation, maybe from Facebook, with me during that walk. So I'm not talking to her for the whole of the walk. I'm actually mentally distracted. So I noticed that even I do that when, I think I've got it sussed.
Yeah, I think it's easy to sort of slip into those things. The idea of constantly learning, that is the sad reality of this industry. I'm nowhere near, I suppose this is a product of being a little bit older. I'm nowhere near as, I don't berate myself quite as much for not keeping up. I've kind of figured I've got a certain level that I'm at now, and it's okay. I'm happy. I can do what I need to do. But going back 15, 20 years, I'd be buying books and reading all the time and trying to figure out exactly what I was best at. And then I kind of realized that's a bit of a dead end, because that means I'm never going to be much good at anything. So now I just concentrate on the things that I know fulfill my business needs, and that's where I stay, and I research around those things only.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's just this is the balance for everyone, isn't it? Knowing when to push us, because you do need to push yourself to get any kind of work done, but also knowing when to get that kind of balance where you need to pull back. And I've been really thinking about that again, with this. I don't know about you. You said that you find time to see friends. So this is one of my problems. I'm easily a loner, so I could be quite happily with my wife and just doing work. Are you good at that? Are you good at socializing?
I'm very good at being alone. As I'm more than happy to be alone. I spend the day alone, and I could probably spend weeks alone, and it would not bother me. However, I would seriously miss my family. That's not, when I say I could be alone, I could do it, but I would miss my family a lot. But the social side of life, I think probably this will ring true for most people who've got children and have a family, is it kind of gets hijacked a little bit by the family. And so a lot of the social events are based around people that you meet via the children. So a lot of my friends now are based around parents of children, and we get the kids together and then those parents hang out. But I still maintain quite good relationships with people that I saw, that I grew up with as a kid, because I stayed in the same place for the first 18 years of my life, and I still see those people from time to time. So yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm nowhere near as social as I was, but I put this down to growing up and having a family, and I don't look at it and sort of feel any sense of shame. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, you sound really balanced, actually. I have to keep a check on myself because I can be very easily on my own with a single focus and get quite lonely, and I've done that before.
Yeah.
So I have to go and always kind of flip this around for my own sake. And I've made a few notes, actually, about the things that I kind of had to have done. I've had to realize as well, and my wife's good at getting us to go out with people, is that if you don't go and see those people, then you've got nothing, a new perspective coming in, no fresh ideas.
Yeah, so
really, particularly for business and stuff like that. I mean, if you don't go and meet people outside of the people we see, online, then you've only got this one perspective. You haven't possibly got, if you like, our friends have probably got a better idea of how clients might think and are more able to see the bigger picture on our own businesses and everything.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth in that. And just talking over what you're doing, can lead to some fresh ideas. I think it's important to step away from the computer. But I suppose in your case, because it's you and your wife, and you are not forced to stop by, say, the school run or what have you, you could, in theory, just keep going for hours, weeks, months, just keep locking yourself away and doing the work. And I think you've got to, obviously I'm no medic, I don't really know, but I think that's ultimately not a particularly constructive thing to do. So getting out, for me, I have no choice. I'm forced out on a daily basis. I've just been out to put the guinea pigs out. So I forgot about them this morning, and that gave me a 10-minute break that I wasn't expecting, but it had to happen. And then there'll be, like I said earlier, the school run and things like that. And I have no choice in those things. But looking back, that's a benefit, because it means that I'm not tied to the computer and worried all the time about work. I can't I can't do that all day because it just isn't part of my routine.
Yeah. Do you know, I've been doing a really good thing, and I shared this in the WP Builds group, but it was a kind of lie. You know, you asked a question about chairs, I think, and everybody was showing their office spaces.
Yeah.
And then finally, I got this nice picture. We've gone away and we've started doing this for weekends. And I showed a picture actually with my computer out. What I didn't mention is that we get no internet there at all. So it was a post photo. But do you know what? This is a really good thing. We've just done 3 weekends, so about every other weekend we've gone away to this place for a couple of days where we cannot get a signal unless we go and travel out the house and make an effort for it. So do you know what? It's brilliant.
Yeah, I can completely identify with that. I think the forced digital detox, well, obviously, maybe the first time you went there, you had no expectation that you were going to be cut off. But the fact that you're going back repeatedly to a place that you now fully know cannot provide you with internet, that's really interesting. Yeah. I just went on holiday and I switched on airplane mode as soon as I got anywhere near the airport. And I switched it off again periodically. I think it came on like 2 or 3 times, but I didn't interact. It was simply just to ascertain that there'd been no emergency message from, let's say, my parents or something. And then I tucked it away again, and my phone became a camera essentially. And I was really pleased for that time away. I mean, it didn't lead to kind of an epiphany of efficiency or fruitful thoughts or anything, but it led to a period of relaxation and calm and getting away from it all, and that was nice.
Yeah, no, I think just over my weekends, it's made me really rethink what I'm doing. I needed to think, but it wasn't intentional. I think if I'd have gone on purpose to say I'm going to have some time out to think about life and my business, it wouldn't have worked. It's just we were just literally staring out the sea, and your mind just wanders off and has a different perspective. Yeah,
yes, it's so good having those moments of just complete and utter. I was going to say distraction, but it's exactly the opposite. It's mentally undistracted. I think we need more of that in our lives, but we need to force it upon ourselves in most cases, because if we're not being busy with work, I expect a lot of us are being busy, being distracted by things that probably don't add up to a great deal. Checking out what your mates are doing on Facebook and so on.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, living in the moment, that's the thing, isn't it? I guess that's what that is.
Do you think a lot about the future? Do you have great big plans? I mean, I know you've got aspirations, I know you've got aspirations for what your business is going to be, but do you spend a lot of time planning things out and thinking about what's coming down the line and what you're going to do? Or is it more kind of reactionary and making it up weeks or possibly months in advance?
Yeah, I think I just react, to be honest. I can't I plan I'm always planning in some way. I know roughly where I'm going. Else otherwise I don't think I can think. But I've come to realize that my plans never go the way that I think they're going. So it's just for the purpose of feeling like I have a purpose that I plan. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This feels like the antithesis to a WordPress episode in a way, because we're trying to not talk about technology, not talk about being connected.
Yes.
It seems like something that needs to be said, though. I hope that those people who are listening aren't kind of thinking, well, this has got nothing to do with WordPress, but it's an important part. Keeping your mental health and physical health up to date is every bit as important, because without those, you've got nothing.
Well, I think, we talked before about going to our first WordCamps, and I think we're both fans of the idea that you meet up with other people who share these same passions of you. But I think that's the other side of it. You also need to do something that's entirely different as well, don't you? Because I think it's so easy with what we do. And I don't know, maybe I'm just misjudging it. I think there's a lot of people who do the work we do are introverts who work on their own quite a lot and enjoy it. And there's a real danger. I've been in that danger zone before, being on my own and working there. But I don't think necessarily something like a WordPress community is where the salvation is in that. It helps to be with other people. But again, you're just talking about the same kind of work. which
Yeah,
brings
I
its own
can
pressures.
understand what you mean. Yeah, so you're talking about having, well, for want of a better word, let's call it a hobby, which is
Yeah.
nothing to do with WordPress. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I kind of I would lump my family into that category in a way, because they are my hobby. They are the thing that I do when I'm not doing WordPress. I used to do all sorts of different things, but most of them have been culled along the way. I used to be in bands and play guitars and all of these kind of things, but
Yeah.
it's just time pressures, really. In those moments where I'm not working, I'm with the family, and in the moments when I'm not with the family and not working, I'm probably asleep. That's pretty much it. I mean, it used to be that. I mean, forgive me. There's going out to the pub and seeing my friends and all of that kind of stuff. I'd forgotten about that, but I don't really have a hobby as such. I am part of a. This is going to sound really tragic. I'm part of a local history group, and I go once a week in the summer. Sorry, once a month in the summer months, and we talk about history and archaeology, and it's really interesting.
I think that's brilliant. I admire you for that. I wish I did stuff like that. You see, I've got into this trap. I bet there's a lot in our audience who fall into the same trap I've been in and still can fall into it, is that wanting to really throw yourself into the new passion, learning about web development stuff. So you only read stuff on efficiency, how to be better at what you're doing, how to learn more stuff. And there's such a danger, I think, in that.
Well,
And
that
also,
is a. Sorry, you carry on.
yeah. No, I was just going to say, and also the fear of wasting time is one of the biggest problems, I think, as well. When actually, when you start to relax, there's actually lots and lots of time we really have.
Yeah, the thing about that one is, I would say that for me, it's about looking at the long game, the big picture, and those people who bang the drum of being amazingly efficient all the time and concentrating solely, really focusing on what it is that you want to do, and to some extent, I think they promote excluding all other things, make your life about this. I can see that. I can totally see why that would have massive benefits down the road, in the future,
Yeah.
when things come back and your business has grown because you've been like that. It just isn't my personality type, and I've kind of decided, I don't know when I decided, but I decided that life is a bit rounder than that, and I want there to be moments of inefficiency, and I want there to be moments of comedy, and I want there to be moments of futility, and I want there to be moments of enjoyment, and all of these things. And so that's the way I approach it, and so that prevents me from being, and has always prevented me from being, this sort of like super focused, niched down character. I think it's not my personality.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. The thing is, if we're not rounded as people, we still have to serve people primarily in the business that we do. And if we're not good, rounded people, then we're not going to be very good at that. So it didn't really matter if we just, moved to the most efficient page builder or something, which a client wouldn't really care about. They really just care about dealing with good people now.
Have you ever done that in your life, though, where you have gone into something to the exclusion of all others, and then a period of time later, let's say a month or 2 months or 6 months or a year later, you've looked up and you've thought, boy, what's happened? Where did the world go? Where have all my friends gone? Where has my life gone? I've neglected it all.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's so easy for me to do that. It wouldn't be so much now, but yeah, really, you've got a habit to go insular and just concentrate on something until I'm unhealthy.
Yeah.
But no more. No, definitely not.
No, well, I mean, you made some very clever decisions, I think. I don't know exactly when those decisions were made, but the idea of kind of shunning the normal work life in the UK, which is 99 point whatever percentage of the population, they do that. They get up in the morning and they go to work and they come home, and it was a bold decision. Is it a decision that you ever regret? Are there any moments in your life where you look back and you think, I wish I'd been more normal rather than moving to India and being a bit of a digital nomad?
No, absolutely not. And do you know what? It just keeps giving, actually, this bit of a journey, because we've moved for our kind of semi-permanent place in Goa. and we've just moved from, I guess, where the tourists go, to sort of Beach Road, to the village, the proper village here. So we're looking out on our apartment on these little small kind of shacks. In fact, they're kind of, some people are just sort of building them together, and you just see how these very happy families kind of work together and cook together, and how little they need, you know. And it's just, it really, I guess something I didn't appreciate until I left work. I was fearful of money, and that really forced everything that I did. It was fear that I wouldn't have enough stuff. But as time keeps going on, I realized there just is actually more time and money all the time. These people, the sort of Goa lifestyle is like that. It's susigar, they have a word for it, which is it can be done tomorrow, and they kind of live life like that. And I've noticed my time span, it almost feels like over the last 6 years, I think, or possibly 7, since I first jacked in the work, it feels like twice as long as the last 15 years.
Wow.
You know, the time has slowed down just because it's kind of mine.
Wow, that's amazing. What a lovely thought. Do you, when you return to, well, for want of a better country, let's say the UK, although for the UK you could read any Western country, I suppose. Are there things that you look at and you just think, why does everybody do that?
Actually, to be honest, I kind of switched back in the mode, but I feel uncomfortable now, so it doesn't feel like home. I think I've taken on board the spirit of these places. So yeah, no, not too much actually. But I cannot imagine any longer doing it was difficult for me to imagine. I work from home anyway, but the idea of, a few hours going out on a commute, and the idea of doing kind of 9 to 5 in one particular building, I can't face the idea.
So your working day, if we just think about the title of this, working when there's other things to do, what gets in your way? Because from the outside, it sounds like, you've got you don't have kids. There's one thing. No. You're in a country where everything's moving. In your description, time has slowed down for you a little bit. What kind of things prevent you from getting things done?
Yeah, just me, to be honest. That's
really?
It.
Really.
Yeah. And the danger is just doing useless stuff, because I don't have that much work to do, to be honest, so that's how I can waste my days away. And that's my difficulty, is the opposite of yours. Mine is to just make sure that I use the freedom I've got well and don't squander it, where yours is you've got commitments and you need to make sure that you sort of honor those without them getting in the way of your work. So
yes,
we're the polar opposites, aren't we, on this?
Well, in that sense, we are. Do you have any sort of like responsibilities, I don't know, like centered around like your property or anything? Do you have to repair things from time to time, or use up time in that way?
Yeah, things come up all the time. In fact, we've just been trying to sort out a long-term let on this, and that's there's always jobs to be done, and there are still people that we meet. It's not like it's just me and my wife only. We have some regular people who we see have now become friends where we are, so we have to find time for those. So yeah, but they're not. I am lucky because these just slot in. Really, I just work around what comes up.
Oh, okay. That was going to be another question I was going to ask, because although I was saying earlier that my calendar is punctuated with little things which mean I can't continue to work, I still try to do office hours. I still try to sit here by 9 o'clock in the morning, and I still try to stay here to be working during the day. Obviously leaving for the essential things that I've got to do. Do you do that, or have you? Has your body clock completely changed and you just randomly start when you like and randomly finish when you like?
It's been random, but there's some, I don't know, it's really odd. I think over certain periods there will be different things. I've started to wake up a lot earlier than I used to do and go to bed earlier, and we've started, this is going to be so embarrassing, we found this YouTube video, because I've been trying to lose some weight recently, so me and my wife in the morning have now got a new routine where we turn on this woman from Essex who tells us how these 7-minute exercises are going to trim our stomach.
This sounds like a YouTube channel in the making. David Walmsley exercise videos. Come on, David.
So we get these new routines that are going on. Do you find time for the TV? Is that something
Oh,
you
I
do?
never watch TV. I haven't watched
Really?
TV for years, like 15 years. I mean,
Wow.
I just don't watch it. That is actually a lie, because I have watched Game of Thrones, but I don't watch it on the telly. I watch it on my computer.
Ah,
I don't know how I got suckered into that, but I saw an episode. I think I was at a friend's house and we sat down, and I really enjoyed it. But I never watch telly. I just don't really get a lot out of it. I
yeah.
don't know why that is, but I do know that a lot of people can lose whole evenings to that. I probably waste an equal amount of time looking at Facebook. So that's I'm not trying to proclaim that that's me being all angelic. I waste it in other equally futile ways. But telly's enjoyable, but I just don't get into it.
Yeah, well, technically speaking, I haven't for the least the same length of time watched telly, because it's a new thing that we've picked on because there's now all these great series of programs that you can get, and we just watch all of those. We just
Yeah.
binge watch something.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a habit now each evening.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to get into that habit. A really good friend of mine, they don't have a telly, and he's really productive, but not in a conventional sense of the word. He is productive at really peculiar times of day. He'll sort of get up in the middle of the night and do things because he's not sleeping, and he won't go back to bed, or he'll stay awake till 4 a.m. just doing things. But I think not having a telly for him is probably a bit of a prime mover in that he doesn't get sucked into 4 hours and then sort of slinks off to bed. But I like the fact that I don't watch telly. I think that's something that, for want of a better word, I'm proud of. I don't know why that is, but it appeals to me that I'm not watching telly. I used to enjoy a lot of it, but I found that, I don't know, I just got fed up and kind of regretted sometimes the amount of time that I'd spent in front of it. Yeah, there you go.
Do you think it's because it controlled what you should think on? Because when you watch TV, you just turn it on at a certain time. You watch a bit of the news. You watch maybe some game show or whatever. My parents are like that, but I feel it's different because I only watched. I've not had a TV for ages, so it's always on the computer. But I control it. There's no adverts, and it's just the programs we decide that we're going to watch.
Yeah, no, I think for me, obviously you go back 15 or so years, that the telly, you had no capability to control what was pushed down the wire at you, other than by turning over the channel. So in the UK, historically, we've had fewer channels than elsewhere, but that's changed recently. Within my lifetime, shall we say. And now, of course, you've got Netflix and Amazon Prime and all of these services where you can pick and choose, and it's free of adverts, which is great. But what I disliked about it was that I would sit down, and then I would find myself like disgruntled by the choices of telly. So I would say, "Oh, there's nothing on the telly." Things like that I would speak. I'd say crossly and angrily, "But there's nothing on the telly." And then I just suddenly thought to myself one day, "Yeah, but you haven't contributed anything to the telly. Why on earth would that rile you? You've literally done nothing. You're expecting to sit down and be entertained, and it for all to be built around you." And then once I'd had that thought, it quickly led to wow, this is silly. Why am I getting cross about the telly? Just switch it off and go and do something else.
Brilliant. Well, you know what? I mean, it keeps me in touch with what's going on in the UK, the kind of series that we watch. And what I've learned is that in the UK, pretty much half of the people have lost their children to tragic circumstances.
Oh, I see. That's
what all the dramas seem to be about. They're all about missing children.
I remember when this is again sort of drifting off the subject, but I hope our audience can cope with this. When I remember I was a paper boy, which means that I used to deliver papers in the UK. And in the winter in the UK, it becomes dark by, let's say, 4 o'clock. So I would finish school, I would go home, get changed, go out and start to deliver papers. And by the time I'd put the first paper through the letterbox, it was pitch black. And I remember walking on my round. I had like 40 papers to deliver or whatever, and it would take me up and down these collection of streets. And I remember looking in the windows one day as I delivered my papers, and every single household, there were people staring toward me. In other words, it kind of looked like they were looking out the window, but they were in fact looking at the telly. And they had these like blank expressions on it because they were just consuming. They were just passively consuming some ordinary television program, which would, sorry, I just bashed my microphone, which would be on at that time of night. I remember seeing household after household and thinking, gosh, that's quite powerful, isn't it? They're all, nobody's really communicating with anybody else. They're all just passively sitting, watching as the entertainment is thrust upon them. And I remember thinking, no, this is peculiar.
I've got visions of the Wrigley family of in the evening sitting around going, what are we doing tonight? Board games again?
See, that's the other thing. I can't force that opinion on them because they love it. And the things that they enjoy are so different to what I enjoy. It's really, really not something that I've been able to do. So my kids love watching telly and I don't really stop them. I think the content these days is so much better. But yeah, we should probably get back to WordPress at some point.
Yes. Next episode.
Yeah, we'll do it in the next episode. No, but this is about that. This whole episode is kind of like other things to do. It isn't about WordPress. And it is just fascinating listening to the stuff that you do. I mean, sometimes you post on Facebook some of the, like your little pictures of going off to your retreat and you walking along the beach and you doing other nice little things. And I think gosh, that's really nice. It's nice that you have all these fascinating things to do that have got that are about you and about you and your wife hanging out together. And the fact that you make time to do that is wonderful. I'm kind of hoping that when my children are a little bit older and there's more independence in them and they can, I don't know, drive themselves places or be in the house alone without me worrying about them burning everything down, that will come back into my life, because at the minute it does feel a little bit from time to time like it's do the work, do the family, sleep, do the work, do the family, sleep. And I'm really pleased that you stepping out of the UK has enabled you to have that in your life.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I'm truly grateful for, just making that change, because it, things just fall into place. I still go back to this thing that it's just, I could not imagine the sort of time and money aspect of things as they've panned out. I was always fearful that I wouldn't have enough money, but these kind of problems sort themselves out when you sort of free up. And I don't know, I can't put it into words. So I'm very grateful for how things have changed for me.
Is it a one-way move? What I mean by that is, even if you wished to return to the UK, let's say that you had a sudden revelation that living in the UK was significantly better than where you're living now, and you thought, I must go back. Is that now inconceivable because of where you've got your work and all of that kind of stuff?
It would be tricky now, because I would certainly have to scale up the amount of work I did to be able to live in the UK permanently. So that would be a challenge at the moment. But yeah, I can't imagine doing it now. I mean, I do love coming to the UK for a few months and that, just to connect with all my family and, and other people as well in the UK, like yourself.
What's the move to India? Did you have in your mind that, like, one of the major reasons was I will be able to do less work because it has the financial implications of living in India are just different from living in the UK?
Yeah, it was kind of that. It was an accident, really. I mean, I just knew I'd had enough of the work that I did, and I took a career break initially. And we actually booked to go to the Philippines for 6 months. We got the visa sorted, and we came to India first because we knew it, because that's where my wife was from. We just found a place and then realized, gosh, this is how much it costs, and I can do lots of stuff we're not using up, because this year off was, I didn't have work then. So I was taking a year out, and I thought I was going to be really out of pocket. But so it grew from that sudden realization that actually we don't spend much here if we live in a place like this. So, but we didn't fix ourselves on India particularly. It's just that we found a nice place, and we thought, well, let's go there. And we haven't really moved since. We still keep looking for new nice places.
But, so you mentioned that if you move back to the UK, you'd have to ramp things up again. So presumably then you are happier doing less work than you are doing more work. In other words, you haven't ramped it up in India. You could have done. So that must tell you, I presume, something about yourself. You enjoy your free time and value that above your work time.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, and a lot of the time is just spent kind of learning stuff that I'm interested in, but it doesn't necessarily have a financial reward for me. So it's very indulgent. But do you? I think also because it's age as well. I mean, I wanted to do this before I hit 50, and I just did it before packed in my work. But now I just see it as that there's no. I don't believe there's retirement now in life. There shouldn't be. There isn't a period that you work hard up to this point and then suddenly stop and wait for death. Or just.
I think if you've been canny and squirreled away the money in the correct pot, the correct pension scheme, you could absolutely kind of like step away from your traditional work. But yeah, I think most people enjoy doing something, and that's the nice thing about this work as well, because it's, for many of us, done on a computer, which you can take anywhere with you. You don't have to stop, do you? You can keep this going for as long as you wish.
Yeah. I mean, I think that making websites, using WordPress to build sort of businesses online means that many people could just do exactly what I'm doing, which is really effectively have a kind of part-time job, a semi-retirement, really, I could call what I do.
Do you have the desire to retire, or do you see yourself in your late 70s, say, still building websites?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I mean, maybe it'll be more the digital marketing than the building of the websites. But yeah, I'm sure you and I will still be talking when I'm in my mid-70s.
Well, I shall be, it'll be, I'll have to put my teeth in and, mop up the dribble and the slurred words. But yes, I can't see myself stopping doing something, doing some kind of work. I like to be busy. Like I was saying, when the kids are of a certain age where either they're no longer living at home or that, they're utterly autonomous, I think I will pivot what my interests are. I think I'm going to get back some interest in things that I had before. Like I would hope to pick up the guitar more. That's just a little dream that I've got. But at the moment, it seems futile because it's such short little things. I know that's, anybody with half an ounce of common sense would tell me, yeah, but 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there, it all adds up. But I just don't see it that way. But also just things like, I don't know, carpentry. I've got a real interest in in like cutting things up and building things, furniture and so on. I used to enjoy doing that a lot, and it's completely gone. My dad, again, so off the subject, but it's interesting. My dad always said that he would get into doing stained glass windows, and he did to some level. He's not like outfitting cathedrals or anything, but he he plays with stained glass windows. So I am looking forward to those things in my life, having things that I can do simply because I want to do them, and I know that nobody's going to interrupt my time. That'll be really nice.
Yeah, actually, it's stained glass windows. I mean, there's a friend of my sister-in-law's who does that and just gets a lot of money from it. It's really big and in demand. So my sister-in-law wanted to do that. Yeah. So and I think this is the way work's going anyway for all of us. There's no kind of 9 to 5 jobs for life any longer. They're not going to be around, are they? We're going to have to learn to make bits of money out of little tasks, that we do, little jobs.
Yes, well, the likes of you and me will, but there's probably a few people out there who've made their millions and they can just use their time, squander their time, I'm going to say. But I think I'll be busy doing something or other, and I hope that you and I are still droning on about WordPress. I wonder, 25 years from now, do you think it'll still be a thing?
Gosh, hard to imagine, isn't it?
Yeah. Maybe we should end it on that bombshell.
I think we should stop.
Well, I did promise you there wasn't a lot of WordPress stuff in there. I hope you managed to find something of interest. It was just really nice for once letting go and talking about something which isn't about WordPress and all of the things that we find ourselves getting distracted by. Perhaps it's something you can empathise with and something that you can, understand. The things that we do are probably not all that unique. The WP Builds podcast was brought to you today by WP and Up. 1 in 4 of us will be directly affected by mental health-related illness. WP and Up supports and promotes positive mental health within the WordPress community. This is achieved through mentorship, events, training and counselling. Please help enable WP and Up by visiting wpandup.org/give. Okay, I hope you can join us next week. We'll be back on Thursday with another podcast episode. If you can't do that, join us on Monday, because on Monday we release our news bulletin. I release an audio version very early in the morning, but then also at 2 p.m. UK time, I also do a live show with some special guests, and so you can join us for that in the WP Builds Facebook group. If I don't see you before then, I hope that you have a nice week, and bye-bye for now. Cheesy music coming in.